This is the new BMW M2. For years, people have called it the baby M4, always living in its big brother's shadow. But with this new facelift, BMW claims the M2 has finally grown into its own. So the question is, has the M2 stepped out of the M4's shadow, or is it still just the little sibling? By the end of this review, you'll know if the M2 is simply a supporting act, or if it deserves top billing as the last pure M car. Welcome back to Drive Tomorrow, where we dive deep into performance cars, driving passion, and the future of the automobile. Today, we're reviewing the facelifted 2025 BMW M2, a car that just might be the last of its kind, compact, rear-wheel drive, and powered by nothing but a turbocharged straight-six engine. No hybrid assistance, no electric boost. Just raw M performance. To understand the new M2, let's rewind. The M2's story began in 2016 with the F87 generation. At the time, BMW M was under pressure. The M3 and M4 had grown bigger, heavier, and more complex. The answer was the M2. It wasn't supposed to be the star of the show. It used a tuned version of BMW's N55 engine, not a bespoke M engine, but it had the right recipe: compact size, rear-wheel drive, manual gearbox, and just enough aggression. The first M2 was raw, unpolished, and a little wild. People loved it. In 2018, BMW stepped it up with the M2 competition. Out went the N55, in came the S55 twin-turbo straight-six from the M3 and M4. Power climbed to over 400 horsepower. And suddenly the M2 wasn't just fun, it was serious. Then came the M2 CS in 2020, a lightweight track-focused special with 444 horsepower. Carbon roof, stiffer suspension, and instant cult status. Today used M2 CS models often sell for more than they cost new. So when the second-generation M2 arrived in 2022, expectations were sky-high. Built on the G87 platform, it now shared even more DNA with the M3 and M4, including the mighty S58 engine. That was both a blessing and a curse. The new M2 was more capable than ever. But with so many shared parts, some worried it felt like a diet M4 rather than a unique car. This 2025 facelift, or what BMW calls a life cycle impulse, is their answer. Before we dig into the design, let's look at where the M2 fits in the market. The Porsche Cayman is the benchmark. Mid-engine balance, legendary steering feel, and a prestigious badge. But it's a strict two-seater, less practical and pricier. The Audi RS3 and AMG A45S are hot hatch monsters. Both pack over 400 horsepower, both have all-wheel drive grip, and both can outrun the M2 in bad weather. But they don't deliver the same rear-wheel drive excitement. Then there's the Toyota GR Supra, smaller, lighter, sharing some DNA with BM, with its own cult following. It's a serious rival. And let's not forget BMW's own M4. For similar money, you can buy a used M4 competition with more space and more power. That makes life tricky for the M2. So where does the M2 fit? Somewhere between Porsche precision, AMG firepower, and BMW's own family rivalry. The M2's design has always been controversial. Some say aggressive, others say boxy, nobody says boring. For 2025, the facelift is subtle but deliberate. Up front, the headlights are new, with sharper LED daytime running lights. The grille remains wide and functional, feeding air to the turbos. From the side, the signature swollen arches are still here, emphasizing the wide track. The stance is aggressive, almost cartoonishly muscular compared to a regular 2 Series. Wheels remain staggered minus 19-inch front, 20-inch rear, with new alloy designs. At the rear, BMW wisely left things alone. The wide haunches and quad exhausts remain. All 4 pipes are real, something Audi can't always say. Dimensionally, the M2 is 4 centimeters longer and 5 centimeters wider than the M2 4OI. In fact, it's nearly as wide as the M4, that gives it serious presence for what's supposed to be the compact M car. Color choices include bold options like Zandvoort Blue and Toronto Red, alongside classics like Alpine White. A carbon roof is available, but now optional, which annoys purists. Step inside, and the facelift brings a few updates. The steering wheel is new, flat-bottomed, chunkier rim, with a central stripe. Upholstery choices have been refreshed, though you'll need sharp eyes to notice. The core recipe remains classic M carbon fiber paddles, shortcut buttons, the red starter switch, and unique M graphics on the digital displays. Optional carbon bucket seats are the real highlight. They look like they belong in a race car. Getting in and out isn't graceful, but once you're strapped in, they're supportive, dramatic, and surprisingly comfortable for long drives. Practicality is decent for a coupe. The M2 is strictly a 4-seater, 2 proper rear seats, no middle perch. Knee room is adequate, headroom is tight. Isofix anchors mean you can fit child seats, but don't expect teenagers to thank you. The boot is a pleasant surprise. At 390 liters, it swallows 6 carry-on suitcases, bigger than an Audi 3 Rupees and larger than an AMG 45S hatch. For a 2-door coupe, that's seriously practical. Here's where things get exciting. The facelifted BMW M2 uses BMW's legendary S58 engine, a 3-liter, twin-turbo straight-six shared with the M3 and M4. The new BMW M2 now produces 480 horsepower to 20 more than before. Torque is 600 Nm with the automatic gearbox, or 550 Nm if you choose the manual. The BMW M2 comes with 2 transmission options, a 6-speed manual for purists who want to row their own gears, and an 8-speed torque converter automatic for those who demand speed, precision, and consistency. Power in the BMW M2 goes exclusively to the rear wheels. There's no xDrive safety net here, just pure rear-wheel drive thrills, the way an M car should be. Supporting hardware in the BMW M2 includes an M Sport differential for maximum traction, adaptive suspension with Comfort, Sport, and Sport Plus modes, and a wider track than the standard 2 Series. Brakes on the BMW M2 are serious. 380mm discs with 6-piston calipers at the front, and 370mm discs at the rear. Standard tires are Michelin Pilot Sport 4S, with optional track-focused rubber if you want to take your BMW M2 to the limit. BMW also gave the BMW M2 playful features like the drift analyzer, which literally scores your slides, and the advanced M traction control system, which lets you fine-tune exactly how much the car will let you oversteer. So how does the BMW M2 feel on the road? In comfort mode, the BMW M2's adaptive suspension makes the ride firm but livable. The steering in the BMW M2 lightens up, the gearbox relaxes, and you can happily use the car for the daily grind. On the motorway, the BMW M2 feels refined, cruising quietly, with adaptive cruise control taking the edge off long trips. Fuel economy in the mid-20s mpg is acceptable for the performance. Switch the BMW M2 into Sport or Sport Plus, and everything changes. Thanks to a shorter wheelbase compared to the M4, the BMW M2 feels agile, playful, and quick to respond. The steering in the BMW M2 may not be Porsche-level pure, but it's sharp, precise, and confidence-inspiring. The automatic gearbox in the BMW M2 slams through gears aggressively in its sharpest setting. The manual gearbox in the BMW M2 is fun, but not BMW's slickest. If you want ultimate pace, the auto feels like the better choice. Push the BMW M2 hard, and the rear end steps out just enough to keep things exciting, before stability control brings it back in. The result is a car that's engaging, playful, but never intimidating. On track, the BMW M2 is brutally fast. 0 to 60 in just over 4 seconds is easily repeatable. The chassis of the BMW M2 encourages you to push harder, experiment with rotation, and power out with confidence. Compared to the M4, the BMW M2 feels more alive, more compact, and less clinical. Against the Porsche Cayman, the BMW M2 can't match the delicacy of a mid-engine layout. But the BMW M2 fights back with practicality, rear seats, and a significantly lower price tag. Against the Audi RS3, the BMW M2 gives up all-weather security, but the BMW M2 wins with rear-drive fun, sharper dynamics, and more character. Against the AMG 45S, the BMW M2 can't match the Merc's cross-country pace in bad weather, but the BMW M2 delivers a purity the MG can't replicate. Against the Toyota GR Supra, the BMW M2 feels like the more authentic BMW M product. The Supra may be smaller and lighter, but the BMW M2 has the pedigree and presence. Against a used M4, the BMW M2 might look like the underdog. The M4 offers more space and more power for similar money. But the BMW M2 counters with intimacy, agility, and a balance that makes it feel like just the right amount of car. Against the Porsche Cayman, the BMW M2 can't match the delicacy of a mid-engine layout. But the BMW M2 fights back with practicality, rear seats, and a significantly lower price tag. Against the Audi RS3, the BMW M2 gives up all-weather security. But the BMW M2 wins with rear-drive fun, sharper dynamics, and more character. Against the ME 45S, the BMW M2 can't match the Merc's cross-country pace in bad weather. But the BMW M2 delivers a purity the MG can't replicate. Against the Toyota GR Supra, the BMW M2 feels like the more authentic BMW M product. The Supra may be smaller and lighter, but the BMW M2 has the pedigree and presence. Against a used M4, the BMW M2 might look like the underdog. The M4 offers more space and more power for similar money. But the BMW M2 counters with intimacy, agility, and a balance that makes it feel like just the right amount of car. The BMW M2 isn't just another sports coupe. The BMW M2 represents the end of an era. BMW M is moving toward hybrids and electric models. The XM already combines V8 power with hybrid boost. An electric M3 is coming. That makes the BMW M2 special. It's compact, rear-driven, available with a manual gearbox, and powered by a straight six with no electrification. The BMW M2 is more than just a performance car. The BMW M2 is a time capsule, one of the last pure driver's cars from BMW M. The BMW M2 isn't perfect. Some features that used to be standard are now optional. The manual gearbox in the BMW M2 is fun, but not BMW's slickest. And some rivals can outgun the BMW M2 in specific conditions. But none of that matters once you're behind the wheel of the BMW M2. The balance, the agility, and the excitement make the BMW M2 capture the very essence of what BMW M has always been about. The BMW M2 is not a baby M4. The BMW M2 is its own machine, compact, raw, intoxicating, and a car that makes you take the long way home. So should you buy the BMW M2? Absolutely. Because years from now, when M cars are hybrid or electric, you'll be glad you experienced the BMW M2, one of the last pure M cars. Thanks for watching Drive Tomorrow. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the 2025 BMW M2, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next one. We've got more reviews, comparisons, and car stories coming soon. Until next time, drive safe, stay passionate, and I'll see you in the next one.